Broadcasting from the studios of WKEN, where every day is the weekend. It's the Ken Calvert Show with your host, Ken Calvert. And if you have anything nice to say about him, keep it to yourself. And now, here's Ken Calvert.
Hey now, and hi everybody. Good to be back with you. Welcome to the Casual Studios of WKEN, where every day it's the weekend and it's time once again for Ken's 10, where I'll either feature a top 10 list of beefs or I'll do 10 minutes on beefs. Well, to quote Ozzy Osbourne from the song Flying High Again, Mama's gonna worry I've been a bad boy. No use saying sorry, it's something that I enjoy. Well, that's not true. This podcast should have been up yesterday. I've been slow getting it up due to the fact that, you know me well enough by now, I got caught up in stupid stuff. And I'm going to explain that to you in just a moment. Coming up on today's podcast, I have a great one for you. It's a classic from Iggy Pop. It goes back to March 12, 2010. Iggy and I talked just a few days before the Stooges were about to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Iggy and the Stooges were going in with ABBA, Genesis, the Hollies, Jimmy Cliff, and simply put, you guys know this, whenever you put Iggy in the room with the Stooges, it ain't going to be dull. It was a dandy. So Iggy is coming right up. Now, getting back to the stupid stuff that has kept me away from the podcast by only one day. The holidays had me screwed up, but I actually had a really serious situation arrive right at my front door. Yeah, or should I say, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, my garage door. I get this phone call from a guy who says, Mr. Calvert, it's time for you to turn your car in. We need to do the inspection like now. Need to get your keys, need to come over and pick up your car. We'll make it real easy. It's like, yeah, okay. What am I going to drive? What do I do now? So I have no clue. I end up, doing all the right stuff. I figured it out, obviously, and I get everything out of my car, I hope. I feel like I'm about to cross the border, and I'm wondering if I'm leaving something in the car that I shouldn't have. So now I have to get a new ride. Like now, I got to get a new SUV, car, whatever it is. And I'll spare you the BS and cut to the chase. I end up leasing a Lincoln MKC. Yup, your old buddy KC is driving a Lincoln MKC. As luck would have it, it's the end of the month, it's the end of the year, so they are dealing. That's right, the tents were up, the prices were down. Credit, forget it, they got it, you get it. I mean, they even threw in the poker to keep the girls back. Kenny Boy's going to look so good in this ride that he's going to need the poker. So I get a new set of wheels. I get the MKC. Well, now wait. Here's where it gets interesting. They pull it around. I love it. Okay, I'm ready to go. But before I can drive off, I have to take an IT course with my account executive, salesperson, on how to set up my car. So it comes with, and a lot of you probably have this, a backup video with those lines that have different colors and these sounds like beep beeps and ding-a-lings that warn me I'm about to hit a wall, back into a wall, or God forbid, take out the front of my garage. So I'm loving that because I don't have to do anything. And then we move along into the radio settings, which I thought or found to be pretty easy, so I fly through that. Although it's subjective, it's like, oh, I only get 6 choices here. What's it going to be? Then we had to sync my phone to the dash. We had to sync my phone through Bluetooth to the dash. In other words, I'm now driving a computer. Well, that went okay, but I can't figure out how to make my steering wheel talk yet. You see, the steering wheel has all sorts of toys on it. And I'm supposed to hit this button that has like a little cartoon profile face on it. with half circles like beaming out of the mouth, and I'm supposed to hit that, and then this voice says, and I'm quoting now, "Say a command." Wow, say a command. Now that is cool. I want a margarita and 2 tacos, 1 beef, 1 chicken. Ain't going to do that, but I did learn how to make a call. And I can do that through my contacts and all of that. But even that gets complicated. Now it turns out, and I'm coming to the end, so stay with me, will you? Turns out that the dealership has classes once a month where we can all head in, all of us losers that know nothing about how to drive cars with all the tech toys on it. We can go in once a month and spend like an hour, 2 hours with a PowerPoint explaining how to use the equipment on our car. So I've got to keep you posted on that. I'm not backing into walls. It does have one of those things where it'll parallel park for me, but I haven't gotten there yet. I got to go to Tech Talk at the dealership with all my new friends. So thank you for listening, and if you would tell a friend about the Ken Calvert Show podcast, I would greatly appreciate that, and I thank you right now for that. You know, guys, I'm not a spring chicken. I went to high school late 60s, early 70s through college, and then 1973 I started in radio. Born and raised in Detroit, homegrown, rock and roll, off the charts back when I was really just having the time of my life. The Stooges, the MC5, Ted Nugent, the Amboy Dukes, Bob Seger, Glenn Frey. I wrote these down, and I'm sure I've forgotten so many. The Rationals, Grand Funk, The Frost, Brownsville Station, SRC, Alice Cooper, The Fugitives, The Underdogs, Question Mark and the Mysterians, Teagarden and Van Winkle, and so many more, not to mention the venues, the Grandy, Easttown, Bookies, Cobo, Olympia, the Michigan Palace. We are rock and roll here in Detroit. And damn, I just get excited talking about this. So let's get this party started. I want to thank you again for listening. Here's Iggy. And again, if you have the opportunity, share the podcast with a friend or two, and that would be mighty fine. If not, just enjoy. I hope you like them. I really do. I hope you like the podcasts. I just sort of free will it, as you can tell. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here's Iggy Pop. Well, how are you?
Hey, I'm pretty good. I'm heading up to New York City tomorrow for a rehearsal of the Stooges.
It's about time, pal.
Well, I appreciate that. Congratulations for being at it 38 years, and you're still reaching somebody. That's not easy. You know, it's nice to have a long form view of anything in life. You know, so it's nice that the group has been able to prevail.
I'm going to take you through, if you don't mind. I'm talking with Iggy Pop. On Monday night, you're about to go into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Selfishly, I have to know, who were you listening to when you were, let's say 15, 16 years of age?
Let's see, 15. I was still in junior high and just going into high school. So it was, I was listening to what I considered was the best of pretty much what you heard on the radio or what the top singles were. So I liked the Ronettes. Be My Baby. I used to spend a lot of time in my girlfriend's basement with her, just her and me and the single, and then you'd have to jump up off the couch every 2.5 minutes to put the single on again, to keep the mood going. So there was the Ronettes and all the different good girl group stuff, like everything from Supremes to the Crystals to lots of them, and then Mary Wells from Motown, and then for the guy stuff, it was more for me Marvin Gaye, Stevie Wonder, and then moving over to rock. I was sort of virgin at the time, so Ray Charles sounded about the same as Elvis to me. It was hard to distinguish. and then so was something like Johnny and the Hurricanes from Toledo, right down the street in Toledo, Ohio. That sounded cool. Then in high school, everything broke open. I mean, I always liked the Beatles a whole lot when they started out, and I remember their first record on VJ, not Meet the Beatles on Capitol, but they put out a first record which was kind of squashed. What happened was they signed to an R&B label called VJ first in America before they really broke in England, and they put out a record doing a lot of good, tough R&B songs. They did "Baby It's You," for instance, by the Shirelles, and "Anna" by Arthur Alexander, and they didn't have the Mop Tops yet. That was a killer record, and then I like Dwayne Eddy.
Oh,
I like Adele Shannon. All that stuff, anything that either sounded just slamming, anything that sounded slamming, or also that had like some emotion to it. Righteous Brothers, and then basically once the good British stuff started coming in, I was in high school, and I had a band of my own, and then I was listening a lot, just to like a lot of people. I think the Kinks, them. Stones, other, a lot of stuff. Dave Clark 5, not as much. They were, when I was in junior high, they were still popular, and that was more like I would listen in awe to the recorded sound of it and the sound of the drum kit, and wonder how the hell he got it to sound like that. But the music didn't do it for me the same way some of the greatest British stuff was, and I learned later, when I got out of high school, and especially from studying the backs, the B-sides, and the writing credits from Stones and Beatles and Dylan albums, and then I discovered the real American music that all these people were basing all this stuff on, and that's Jerry Lee Lewis and Hank Williams and Little Richard and Chuck Berry. Chuck Berry above everybody. Chuck Berry, you listen to Maybelline, and it doesn't sound that different than Grandmaster Flash.
Iggy, you made a left turn though. You changed the model. You changed the paradigm of music. So you just talked about the influences that represent the blues, harmony, melody, rock and roll. You were with the Iguanas. I suspect that most people don't realize that when they think of Iggy Pop, they don't realize when people hear this, they're going to go, wait a minute, I thought this guy was a wild guy that dove on glass and smeared peanut butter on his face and just represented the genesis of punk rock. You did make a bit of a left turn, correct?
Well, there was some of that, and then also in the music there were experimental elements that I didn't really get. I started listening to a lot of exotic, and that stuff led to some musical exoticism, and then the behavior was always really implied. Honestly, you look back, and ever since the 50s, rockers were getting arrested for doing everything off stage. I just did it on stage. That's all. I just got arrested on stage instead of off stage, or caused outrage or whatever, caused comment by doing a lot of things that a lot of guys were doing in their spare time, and then coming out on stage and sort of stiffening it up a little bit for showtime. I let it all hang out a little bit, Ken. Yeah.
Let me ask you something. Did you do it by design, or did it come naturally?
It came naturally, but society's to blame. I have society to thank. Generally there's give and take, and we had a lot of give and take. Our group with people. There were some people. It was a funny time in the '60s because an old order at the end of the '60s was being was on its way out. Everybody knew it. The president looked crazy and tired at the same time, and nobody wanted to listen to these old people, and so there was going to be this new order, and with the new order came a whole new leadership. So especially when you were starting out in any group, you couldn't really play a gig without expecting a third of the audience to be local arbiters of taste.
Huh.
And those people, to those people, we were a threat for some reason. I'm still not sure why, but the audience always got us. And so there was a give and take that kind of happened. They started taking, I started giving. Something like that.
You know what? I think we were starting the process of the replacement of that generation, don't you?
Well, I think so.
Yeah.
I don't think it. I think about all we did was start it.
I have a friend that uses a great expression that is, there was the varsity and the junior varsity. So let me go here for a second. When I think about the MC5 and I think about Iggy Pop and the Stooges, would you consider the MC5 very, very, very early on as the varsity and the Stooges as junior varsity because they mentored you?
Yes, absolutely. A great part of their expansive attitude was that there was a certain generosity, and that if extended to wanting and needing other people to work on stage with them, and the ideas, the roots of those ideas come from the old traveling rock and roll group shows or R&B reviews. So that originally our relationship with them was as a good and interesting opening act that they could depend on to do some strange things in the room and kind of flavor up the evening.
Yeah.
They used to work a lot with a band called the Up.
Oh God, are you kidding me? There you go.
Right. And I think we were able to give add a little something, a little color to what they did. And I think that's how the relationship started. And they were genuinely, there were all sorts of connections between the two bands. Fred Smith and Ron and Scott's sister had dated, and apparently, I don't remember this at all, but Wayne Kramer tells me that they tried to recruit me to drum for the group at one time. And then my group tells me that later they tried to recruit me to sing. So the two groups I used to go over to their house, to their headquarters in Detroit, and crash for 3 or 4 days and get their girlfriends to sew up my stage pants and did share their psychedelia and their pot. And when they lived in Ann Arbor, if I got really hungry, I'd sneak in the back of their house and steal their peanut butter. So we were tight.
Can I ask you then, when you say you don't remember if you were asked to play the drums or if you were asked to be the lead vocalist, was there any sort of a haze going on back in the days that you don't remember, or was...
I'm not sure. It might just mean that there's my late father, is a wonderful man, tell me that he put it politely. He always said, Jim, you have just an incredibly selective memory. So maybe I'm busy remembering things that I need to connect to try to make a decent song or a decent a piece of music or something, and I don't remember some very basic things because they're not on my program. I don't know.
Couple of quick things to ask you about. The eighth time for the Iggy and the Stooges to get in. Are you ready to rock and roll on Monday night?
We're going to give it a shot. As it's a little strange rocking after dinner. I usually do it the other way around, but we'll give it a shot.
When you talk about Ron Asheton, will that be in the speech?
Yes, but I'm trying. I haven't really. I'm not a speechwriter, and I'm having a little trouble trying to figure out what to do with the whole occasion. I'm going to be up there with Scott, his brother, and I've asked. Scott has accepted the responsibility to actually accept the awards his own award, but also Ron's award and Dave Alexander's, because Dave was he was their friend from down the street forever and ever. So I'm going to leave a lot to Scott. I want to say a thing or two about Ron without some sort of soap or reality show.
It's very selfish, but I think DJs should have a vote for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Yes or no?
That's so right on and true. Yes, I guess I don't really know who has these votes. I heard something, writers maybe. I know my attorney's got one, so I know where we got one vote. But yes.
Thank you.
I believe so.
You mean your attorney got a vote and I didn't?
I'm sorry. My attorney's connected, baby.
All right. What are you going to play?
I'm not going to say that on the. I'm not going to say, except I'll just say it's our two hits, dude.
What about the remaining Detroit artists? And I know everybody. What about the extraordinary members of this community, this rock community, that are not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and you know who I'm talking about?
Okay, I don't know who's in and who's not, except for, like, I'll bet, is Mitch in?
No.
All right. The MC5 will probably end up in, and I'm certainly going to mention something about them. It's a funny thing. An institution like that will make or break its own credibility, and that may be one reason they may have felt they needed something with a little grit in it this year to keep them credible. We're the only straight ahead rock band this year is us.
Grand Funk, should they be in?
Oh gosh, I'm not going to get into that.
All right.
Terry Knight and the Pack. Did you ever see them? Mark Farner is a really, really, really interesting bass player. I think he ended up on guitar in the group. Did he not? In Grand Funk.
You've got Mark, Don, and Mel Shocker. You've got Don Brewer, who I think is one of the better drummers on the planet.
That's the next thing I was going to say was the drummer is awesome.
All right, final question for Iggy Pop.
Okay.
All right, Alice Cooper.
He probably ought to be in there for School's Out Alone. That's a wonderful single.
All right, well, no more Mr. Nice Guy for me, Ken Calvert. Iggy, you're apparently, based on what I got earlier, your dad was on your side and in your corner, probably a little tougher than most, but believed that you had a gift.
Yes, he did, and he was real. Once I decided to ruin my life being a musician, he backed me up all the way. He was just a terrific man, and very, very late in the last couple of years of his life, he held my hand one day. He was bedridden, and said, "Well, Jim, you've made your dream come true." It was very moving, because not everybody gets that chance.
I just got to tell you, got me emotional, because finally, at the end, my father finally told me, "I appreciate what you do."
Yeah, sure, I know the feeling.
Right.
Buddy.
You have a wonderful time, and we look in with great joy and happiness, and Godspeed, and we'll see you soon.
Okay, thanks a lot, Ken.
All right, see you later. Bye.
The preceding program is the property of Ken Calvert and may not be rebroadcast without the written permission of Ken Calvert. Awfully proprietary, isn't it, Kenny?